Hey everyone, today we're in Hobart, Oklahoma, and hopefully the sound clarity is okay. It is super windy out, as you can tell from my beard blowing, but I wanted to venture down here and tell the story of an absolute hero in World War II. So there are a bunch of entrances into the cemetery. This is the main entrance, I guess you could say, with that little arch right above it saying Hobart Rose Cemetery. The person that we're here to visit today is right over here, right to the left of when you come into that entrance. And this is an interesting one and a big piece of history. Excellent marker here. There's some flowers so you can tell that he is remembered. But it says Doolittle Raid on Japan, April 18th, 1942. The mission without a return. And there's a B-25 bomber there, and of course it states that's what it is, RJ. Robert James Stevens, he was a flight officer, World War II bombardier on the 17th Bomb Group, Army Air Force. He was born February 28th, 1915, and died April 13th, 1959. And there is some information on the back side as well as a government marker right here. And it says, received the following medals for his service on the back side. Distinguished Flying Cross, Airman's Medal, Purple Heart. In response to December 1941 Pearl Harbor attack, 16 B-25s took off 18th of April 1942 from the USS Hornet to bomb Japan. First time that B-25s launched from an aircraft carrier. The 80 volunteer crew members had little chance of reaching China safely. The attack changed Japan's strategy of homeland, not touchable, as was believed. It's an excellent marker right there. And there's a government marker right here, Robert J. Stevens, Kansas. And definitely a big time hero right here. So he's had this one. And then you can clearly tell that this newer one has been placed here. December 7th, 1941 was a day that would live in infamy. These were the words spoken by President Franklin D. Roosevelt in his address to Congress and the United States following the attack on Pearl Harbor by the Japanese. On December 21st, 1941, it was decided by Roosevelt and the Joint Chiefs of Staff that Japan should be bombed as soon as possible. A plan was then developed, and Lieutenant Colonel Jimmy Doolittle was selected to lead the mission. He had been a famous military test pilot, civilian aviator, and an aeronautical engineer before the war. Doolittle selected the B-25 as his aircraft to go with. The plan that was decided upon called for a U.S. carrier to deliver the bombers as close as possible to Japan. From there, the B-25s would then take off from the carrier and fly to Japan to bomb Tokyo. The bombers were modified to carry more fuel, and they were also lightened so that their flying range could be extended. The bomber crews practiced taking off from painted outlines of an aircraft carrier at Naval Station Norfolk in Virginia. On April 18, 1942, 80 men and 16 B-25 Mitchell medium bombers set off on what some was said was an impossible mission to change the course of World War II. The actions of these 80 volunteers, led by Lieutenant Colonel Jimmy Doolittle, were instrumental in shifting momentum in the Pacific Theater and setting the stage for victory at the Battle of Midway. These men, dubbed the Doolittle Raiders, launched 16 B-25s off the flight deck of the USS Hornet. This marked the raid as a catalyst to many future innovations in U.S. air superiority. The courageous spirit of the Doolittle Raiders has been the inspiration behind the name of America's next generation of bomber, the B-21 Raider. It is currently in development by the U.S. Air Force. Robert James Stevens was a bombardier with Crew 4 of the Doolittle Raiders. He was born in Roosevelt, Oklahoma, and was orphaned in 1920 because a tornado killed his parents. Stevens was raised by his grandmother, Nanny Shelton. He graduated from Hobart High School and enlisted in the Army in November 1939. He then completed Bombardier School in June of 1940 and Aircraft Mechanics School in February of 1941. Sergeant Stevens served as a bombardier on a B-25 Mitchell with the 95th Bomb Squadron of the 17th Bomb Group at McCord Field, Washington, and then later at Pendleton Army Airfield in Oregon until he was selected for Doolittle's mission in February of 1942. He was the bombardier on the 4th B-25 to take off from the aircraft carrier USS Hornet CV-8 on April 18, 1942. After bombing Tokyo, his crew flew to China and bailed out when their aircraft ran out of fuel. He remained in the China-Burma-India theater after the raid and served as a B-25 bombardier with the 11th Bomb Squadron of the 341st Bomb Group in India from May 1942 to July 1943. After returning to the United States, Staff Sergeant Stevens was commissioned a flight officer in the U.S. Army Air Forces on February 11, 1944, and was rated as an aircraft observer. He was medically retired from the Army Air Forces on December 1, 1944. Robert Stevens died on April 13, 1959 of natural causes and is buried here in the Rose Cemetery at Hobart, Oklahoma. During his service, he was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross, Air Medal, Purple Heart, and the Chinese Army, Navy, and Air Corps Medal. His Distinguished Flying Cross citation reads, "For extraordinary achievement while participating in a highly destructive raid on the Japanese mainland on April 18, 1942. Sergeant Stevens volunteered for the mission knowing full well that his chances of surviving were extremely remote, and he executed his part in it with great skill and daring. This achievement reflects high credit upon Sergeant Stevens and the military service." Now there are a couple graves next to Robert that are interesting, and it's right here. There's one of them. Don't know anything about these next couple graves, and I'm going to show you. This is father and mother. Father is James T. Shelton, 1863 to 1928, and mother Nanny, 1861 to 1951. Could have very well been pioneers here in the area, but what I found was interesting is someone has left a hammer here, and it's been here for quite some time because the wood is weathered, and of course the head on the hammer is all rusted. I don't know what the significance of that is, why that hammer was left. But the other interesting final resting place grave monument is right behind it. Beatrice Short, July 9th, 1913 to January 20th, 1925. Just a young little girl. And it says she was the sunshine of our home. And there's a great looking photo right here on the monument marker. I don't know if we can find anything out from Find a Grave or some other resource, but that is an interesting marker to say the least. So young, and just a big, nice memorial marker. And then I'm guessing that these are probably the parents. Jesse U. Short, 1891 to 1934, and Maud R., 1893, and then it just says 19, so the date was never filled in when Maudie was died and buried here. I assume that she was anyways. Interesting finds here in the cemetery right near that entrance. That's going to do it for today's cemetery visit. I hope you enjoyed it, and I thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.